right. Good evening, everybody. This is the CSRN, the Community Solidarity Response Network. It's our weekly podcast, or we used to call them video minutes. So I guess they're going to just keep that video minutes thing on our banner. Hey, listen, thank you for being with us. What we're going to do right now for some of our comrades to join on the podcast, we're going to put a 5-minute timer up. While that timer is up, if you're watching a podcast or if you're looking to log on, do so. So, team, if we can get the 5-minute timer up. And we'll be right back. All right, we are back. We're back. This is the CSRN Weekly Video Minutes. This is our podcast where we come to you every week to talk to you about some of the things that we've done last week, the things that we're doing right now, which is putting together our Juneteenth program on the 18th of next month, and some of the things that we've got going on in the future. I'm Brother Washington Muhammad. I use the pronouns he and him. I'm one of the co-founders of CSRN, along with Mike Leonardi and Jabril Bey 7 years ago. These two brothers decided that there had to be a new way to address the injustices in our community outside of politics and religion. And they put together what was called Community Solidarity Day. And I wasn't involved at that time. Then they asked me to come on and help do some planning. I think that's one of the things that I do. All right. Not pat myself on the back, but pat myself on the back. And here we are 7 years later, continuing to do this work. Today I have on my glasses from Optigo, Twix in Between. So if you ever find our sister Christian Moncrief, she has the Optigo bus that you could walk right in her bus, and it's just like walking into one of the local eyeglass stores. And these are some awesome glasses that I got from her. And as always, I'm dedicated to respecting, protecting, and defending all Black bodies, no matter the cost, no matter the gains or loss. And this is the headquarters of Black Lives Matter and Justice or Else. We're going to move quickly through this because we have an exciting guest today. We wanted our sister Umbrea from Art Construction to come on and bless our podcast in March, where it was National Women's Month. And we looked at some of our phenomenal women that were in the community making things happen. And she was at the top of the list. However, I think she was out of town. She's always out of town, though. For real. But hey, she's back. We have her on. What we're going to do today is read our mission statement, which lets you know what CSRN is all about. And then we'll read our guiding principles. That's that thing that we do so that we don't implode, as a lot of social activist groups and community groups do it at one point. So let's put our guiding principles, let's put that on the or our mission statement, put that on there. And if you wanted to, if you're looking to support us, you can support us via Cash App, that's hashtag CSRN, or if you want to support us via PayPal, that's paypal.csrn419. This is our mission statement. We are the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo, formed on November 25th, 2014, the day after it was announced that the killer, a Ferguson, Missouri police officer of Michael Brown, an unarmed teenager, would not be indicted. We bring awareness to the injustices experienced by Black men, women, and children who are disproportionately murdered, attacked, provoked, and harassed by law enforcement. Police brutality has to end. We bring awareness to the fact that most often police brutality goes without consequence and accountability. Police impunity has to end. We utilize tactics of protest, civil disobedience, event disruption, and citizen advocacy to give a voice to those who are otherwise voiceless. We facilitate progressive, community-based events that help to foster self-development, and we discuss measures to hold local leadership accountable to their sworn duties, be they politician, clergy, law enforcement, educators, etc. We want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed, class, or color. For all lives to matter, Black lives must matter. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That last quote is our brother, Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., These are our guiding principles. We adopted our guiding principles in 2015 at the movement of Black Lives convening. This was a convention of young people who were making their way through the social justice era or arena, and they wanted their voices heard. So we adopted their guiding principles and we made them our own. This is the CSRN guiding principles. All Black lives matter. Queer Black lives, trans Black lives, formerly and presently incarcerated Black lives, poor working class Black lives, differently abled Black lives, Black men and women lives, immigrant Black lives, Black elderly and children lives. All Black lives matter, and our creators of this space, we throw no one under the bus, we rise together. Ashe. And Ashe means one who changes a thing or one who makes a thing happen. Thriving instead of surviving. Our vision is based on the world we want, not the one we're currently in. We want our people to thrive, not just exist. Think beyond the possible. Ashe. Experimentation and innovation must be built into our work. Embrace the best tools, practices, and tactics, and leave those behind that no longer serve us. Ashe. Evaluation and assessment must be built into our culture. Critical reflection must be a part of all of our work. We learn from our mistakes and our victories. Ashe. Principled struggle can exist in a positive environment. We must be honest with one another by embracing direct, loving communication. Ashe. Love, self-love, is practiced in every element of all we do. Love and self-love must be a driver of our work and an indicator of our success. Without this principle and without healing, we will harm each other and undermine our movement. Ashe. 360-degree vision. We honor past struggles and wisdom from elders. The work we do today builds the foundations of movements of tomorrow. We consider our mark on future generations. Ashe. Self-care means we build resilient spaces by budgeting time, energy, and resources for healing. Self-care is a regular, consistent, intentional, and essential practice. Ashe. The most directly affected people are experts at their own lives and should be in leadership at the center of our movement and telling their stories directly. Ashe. Training and leadership development should be fundamental. Our movement must constantly grow and leadership must constantly multiply. Ashe. Those are our guiding principles. And you just heard our mission statement. What we want to do right now, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with our sister Andrea from Art Construction to talk about, man, how do you balance? I want to even ask her, how do you balance all you do and family? So stay tuned. This is the CSRN Video Minutes, our weekly podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Dr. P. Not only am I a leadership coach, I'm a change agent, and I'm a race scholar. I've used my study of race to dismantle systems and organizations, but I also use that to help you as the individual become a better leader for your families and for your community.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call digital edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
All right, we are back. We're back. This is the CSRN, a weekly podcast. I don't know why Ruth still wants it to be called Video Minutes, so I'm not going to challenge her. I want to thank everybody for coming back. Hey, look, I want to bring our sister Andrea in the studio right now. If you don't know our sister, it will be wise that now you could get acquainted with our sister. Andrea, how you feeling today?
I'm doing fantastic.
All
Thank
right,
you.
listen, I want to thank you for joining us. We had met in the team had met in mid-February. We were doing a lot of the Black History Month programming, and Ruth, who is the administrative lead, she's not the boss, but we do everything that she says. All right, so
That sounds like the
I don't
boss to
know.
me.
I have no idea how that works, but all right, but it does. And we talked about National Women's Month and lifting up our phenomenal sisters in our community. Um, and your name will come up. And I'm like, okay, well, where's she at? All right. And we talked about Dr. Patrice. We talked about Twyla Page, Sister Twyla Page, Mother Diane Gordon. We talked about our sister Anita Madison of the NAACP, who is phenomenal in all that she does. But we're like, okay, we got to scan the globe for our Brea. Where is she? So we are glad that we have you. Listen, it is what it is. I'm going to just come out and say it. I did my due diligence on pronouncing your last name. So I'm thinking, okay, let's go through YouTube first. Let's find some interviews. So I looked at the interview of somebody from Perrysburg was interviewing you, and it was about your home. All right. And I'm like, that's a pile of rubble. What is she going to do with a pile of rubble? All right. Then a few frames down. I'm like, oh, that okay. All right. I see you. I see what you did there. All right. So, but as I was watching that, almost on stalker mode, but I wasn't on stalker mode, but I'm watching it, and I never saw the guy say your name. So I'll say it. I'm going to go to the next. Then there was an article about you regarding the Wonder Bread building. All right. And a lot of us saw that. We would travel down Summit and we would just see that as there's nothing good that could possibly ever come out of that. So we'll drive by it. I may have threw a beer bottle right by just so it could be at home. All right.
There were several bottles.
Right. Thank you. So, all right. So it worked. And I saw you open up, bringing everybody together. And you opened up. I'm like, okay, but I'm listening for her to say her name because I got my phonics, are good, but I need to hear her say it. All right, but I didn't hear you say it. So I'm like, okay, all right. So let's scroll, and I'm scrolling. And for anybody that's watching this, it'd be wise to learn something about the person that you're having on. You have no idea what people are doing in the community, and it'd be wise to really check her out. Check her out. All right, check her out. So I'm scrolling through, and I get to Jerry Anderson on Leading Edge, and I think we were talking about the drywall and how it seems like there's another loop. All right, and after you jump through the loop of fire with nails, they'll say, okay, here's a loop with glass. All right, let's see what you do there. All right. Either you're in it or you're not. All right. And he pronounced your name. You said, hey, good enough. Well, good enough is like somebody calling me Washington. Okay, good enough. All right. There's no ER in my name. All right. So could you introduce yourself to everybody here, who you are, and what gives you your drive to do what you do?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak to your audience. I don't take being here lightly. I really appreciate any opportunity I have to share my story. My name is Ambria Mick Olychek. It's easier said than when you look at it. Mick Olychek. My husband Kevin and I purchase dilapidated properties, typically in communities of color that have been forgotten about, and we renovate them. And so we have a construction and development company. We also have a property management company. We also help our clients do the same. So if they have an old office building, if they have an old house that need renovation and repairs, we will help them with the knowledge that we've acquired over our 15-year history of doing this, and we'll help them pull their projects through as well. And so we help clients, and then we also help ourselves when we purchase those properties with our team.
Oh, listen, when did you know, man, I always ask everybody their origin story. Okay. You just didn't come in out of vacuum. There
No,
was
I did not wake up this way.
okay.
Right.
So what happened? When did you know that, hey, look, I can do this? And it's been 15 years. So we're not talking about, hey, look, I got this really great idea, Brother Washington, and I want you to invest. I've never did anything. Nope. We're talking about 15 years. So you're bringing receipts to this. All right. When did you realize that you can do this?
Well, initially we didn't know. We just showed up taking a risk. We wanted to invest in real estate, but really didn't know what that looked like. We just showed up at an auction, my husband and I, and we were like, you know what? We're just going to jump right in. I have a pharmacy degree, and my husband has a finance degree, and it was not construction. It was not real estate. I didn't even know people who were real estate investors outside of, my family members, my parents, people who own their homes, not for investment purposes. And so when we showed up at auction, we bought a house and we bought a duplex, and it was prior to the 07, 08, 09 kind of market crash.
Okay.
So we purchased them fairly cheaply. So they were both fixer-uppers. We learned a lot. Again, we had no knowledge of what we were doing, but we YouTubed everything and Googled, and everyone knows a guy that can do certain things, right? And so we had the guys come help us.
Okay. All right.
My dad is handy. Kevin's dad is handy. And so we got to work. We'd work on weekends, holidays, after work. And before we knew it, we were done. We had pulled it off. At that point, I didn't want to sell. We've never been flippers for that matter. We just kind of keep our portfolio intact. So I needed to realize, what was it going to take to become a landlord? If I didn't want to sell it, I needed to rent it out. And so what are the fair housing rules and laws? How do you vet and screen tenants, right? The list went on and on. And so once we figured that out, we started renting, loved it, and we just kept going. We bought more duplexes, we bought more houses, and then we went up to 6 unit, 8 units, and then we purchased our home where we live. We live in a former tobacco factory, and that's really kind of where the floodgates opened. We started opening our doors for people to walk through and tour, and people said, hey, can I hire you? And Kevin and I kind of looked at each other like, what do you mean, you want to hire us? But what we realized is we have been doing construction management services for ourselves as the client, very much in the same way like your large construction companies do, right? They're going to get the subcontractors. They're going to manage your schedule, your budget, your timeline. They're going to do all these things for you. And so we had gained all this skill set. So the writing was very clear that we needed to, in my perspective, I needed to resign from my career and really explore this full time, because I knew the opportunity was here now. I didn't know if it was going to be there tomorrow. So let me just see, is what I was thinking. Let me see. I can always come back to what I was doing if it doesn't pan out, but I've got to take this kind of leap of faith, if you will. And so here we are. Our company's almost 5 years old, at least ARC Restoration Construction is.
Right.
When I resigned, I branded us ARC Restoration and Construction, because again, like Noah, complete leap of faith, just following what I feel like is my destiny and what I should be doing. It's my God-given purpose doing this work. And it's been great. Year after year, we've had 100% increase in sales every single year.
All right. You talked about, this is definitely a success story of someone with a pharmacy degree and someone with a finance degree. Nobody said anything about real estate. All right. So I don't know how you can put those two together and it makes this. What was it like for you? Because some people would advise you, hey, no. They even have the saying, don't quit your day job. All right. Now, you quit your day job. I'm I'm getting an anxiety attack right now. Oh man, I hope my boss isn't watching this thinking I'm getting some ideas. No, boss, I ain't getting no ideas. I'm with you. All right. Okay. So what is that like? I love talking to entrepreneurs, and most entrepreneurs come to that crossroad, and they have to make a decision. And you talked about faith, and that's a space a lot of us we don't even want to step in. I'd rather just go to church and sing in a choir, but be damned if I'm going to act out on faith like you.
Right.
What was that like for you making that decision?
Yeah, no, it was really hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I feel like as a society, we're taught like you go to school, right? You get your career, you work until you're 65, you retire, and you travel the world with bad knees, right? Most of us subscribe to that policy, and I 100% have bought into it. I had graduated from the university. I was very lucky and fortunate to get a career in pharmaceutical sales, and I did it for a long time. So after it took me about a year to actually do it, I knew I needed to, but I still was not convinced enough that I could do it without my job. So again, it took me about a year. And then even after I did it, it was still a mental struggle. I remember seeing my friend in a grocery store maybe a couple weeks after I had resigned, and I was at the bank, and I saw her, and she had known that I had resigned, and she said, "Bria, how's it going?" And I just bust out crying because the truth was I didn't know how it was going. I didn't know if I had made the right choice. I wanted to retreat, right? Because your careers and your job, they really are your security blanket. And when I didn't have it anymore, I felt a lot exposed. Am I doing the right thing? I've got four small kids. What if it doesn't work out? I didn't know if I did. And so what I can tell you is it was very hard, but every single day I just got up and I figured it out. I just bit off a little bit at a time. I just took one step. First I got business cards, and then I got a website, right? Now I'm focused on my logo. Now I'm focusing on, what marketing message I want to give. Now I'm setting up meetings and going after those big clients or those big jobs. So just every day I was showing up, just chipping off a little bit more, gaining my legs really and building up my confidence. And then jobs started coming and people started wanting to hire us, and it worked. It actually worked. And I made it the first year, and then I made it the second year, and now we're doing this thing. And yeah, it was really hard and it was really heady to take on, but I'm so thankful that I did, because with that job being my security blanket, it was actually holding me back from really doing impactful and meaningful work.
That's beautiful.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
want I can, let me know when you got to go, because everything that you say brings another process question. I wanted to ask you a question about. I want to get to the family, because let me pull something up on the screen. Give me 1 second.
Mhm.
Man, this is awesome. And I'm taking notes right here, because if my wife sees this, she probably say, "Well, why can't you do what they do?" I'm like, "Hold up, hold up, hold up, honey, please." All right. It says right here, this is from May 2nd. It says, "Getting started on some demo. Might be
Mhm.
something new coming to downtown."
Mhm.
Um, can you see that picture?
I do see it.
All right. Now, okay, to the untrained eye, I'm like, new downtown. Who would want? I don't even look. That doesn't even look like anything. How? All right, and you say something new. Why would anyone want to pay attention to a picture that just has a bunch of rubble? That's all I see. Don't look like it's something new. Looks like it look like it's something old. I still see my old beer bottle. All right, there. Well,
No, I really enjoy showing people the process, right? Because people come in at the end and they see this beautiful apartment or this beautiful office space, and they think, "Oh, this has always been there." There's a lot of work going into restoration of these old buildings. And so I like to show people progress pictures on what we're actually doing. So there was a wall there that we demoed. That's why you see all of the rubble. This is
Right.
a very old, vacant building in downtown Toledo, that's going to be getting repurposed. It's probably, I think this particular building will be apartments and some office space, so mixed
That's
use.
awesome.
But yeah, we just take what's old and raggedy and forgotten about and make it awesome again. But this is certainly, it's a journey. It's a journey throughout the process for sure.
Um, through your first and second year um, of you competing with people that have done
Mm.
that was doing this, what was it like stepping in that space? You with a little knowledge and some faith,
Hmm.
rubbing elbows with people that, hey, like they do this in their sleep. What
Yes.
was going on with you? Hey, am I good enough? Whatever. What was going on with your thinking at that time? And if someone is watching this, this is an awesome entrepreneur clinic that you're watching now. She talked about before having a job and making that decision. She also talked about working. She said that there was no weekends and there was holidays too. So what was going through your mind having to compete with others that, like I said, that do this every day?
So I, I do, I take a risk, right? And I realize not a lot of people are willing to do that. I think it also plays into the way that I was raised. So I played basketball and I actually played volleyball at University of Toledo. So I'm an athlete. But in fifth and sixth grade, I was the only girl on an all boys basketball team. But not only was I the only girl, I was a leader. So I was the captain. I was the tallest. So I jump ball. I was
Oh
the
wow.
forward, the guard, right? I was all these things. And looking back, I can see how today God set it up that way because I'm completely comfortable and confident into going into rooms where people like me may not be reflected. And so when I did pharmaceutical sales, I was oftentimes the only Black woman in the room. When I was in the College of Pharmacy, I was, in most of my classes, the only Black woman in the class, but I've always been confident in that. And I think from an early age, God saying, okay, no, you go in this room because you've got business to conduct in here. And so that's how I carry myself. Um, I can see how that served me now going into these construction rooms where there are mainly white men. It's funny because I did not know the game. I walk into things and I'm kind of green. I'm coming in to learn and figure things out and listen, but I don't let that hold me back. Right. So I was really surprised. I'll first say that. Well, first off, when I got there, I had to deal with the whole, oh, who are you? Right.
Yeah,
Who do you work for?
that's
Are
right.
you an engineer? Right. I remember when I did my Wonder Bread, we had a ribbon cutting to symbolize the start of construction. And there was media there who did not know me. And there was a lot of people who didn't know me, but the questions I had gotten was, are you a spokesperson for the owners? Are you the realtor? Are you the tour guide? Right? Everything except for owner of
Owner,
this building.
owner.
Right? And so same is true when I walk into those rooms where I'm sourcing construction jobs. Who are you? Who do you work for? Are you the engineer? Right there, they give me appropriate titles for
Right,
Black women.
right.
Um,
And I want to say this. I remember that time um, when it was time for the ribbon cutting of that Wonder Bread building, and this was I had not heard of you. I've not seen you, but here you have this. I was going to say this gorgeous Black woman, but my wife might be watching, so
that's okay.
hopefully
I'll
we
take the compliment. Thank you.
hopefully edit that part on out, Ruth. But I still need to go home at the end of the day. All right, so I think all of us still struggle with. We're getting ready to celebrate Juneteenth. That we're free now to accept ourselves as bosses. And when I first saw you, I'm like, okay, where did she come from? All right. I don't see whoever it is, I don't see her boss around. All right. She doesn't look like she's speaking on behalf of anyone. And I'm thinking, okay, let's just watch this play out. and we consistently see you in business. We consistently see you in development, and you're not speaking on behalf of anyone. I never heard you to say, "Hey, let me talk to the boss and I'll get back to you." All right, I don't think that quote exists. So, and it's just phenomenal um, to see you operate, in that space and do it well. And I'm sorry for cutting you off. Ruth says that we shouldn't do that. But I really wanted to bring up that fact that yes, when people see you, it's like, okay, who is she? Is she here for the dream?
Yeah, I get that all the time. Oh, well, you must not be from here,
That's right.
right? Where are you from?
Um,
They
yes.
don't even think. I'm like, I'm born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. I grew up on Macumber,
Oh
right?
wow.
Macumber in Auburn. I went
Oh,
to
oh Lord, lock your doors.
Nathan
Right, right.
Hale, Nathan Hale
Oh
Robinson.
man, come on.
Sorry.
This is to bring in receipts, family. All right. This is to bring in receipts. All
So
right.
no, I am from here, and that just kind of burns me. Like, people think that I'm not from here. I must be from somewhere
Somewhere
else to
else.
like do this work. But it's so interesting because all of us we've been created to do amazing things. We're just
Beautiful.
not believing in it. We're not believing in ourselves and our ability in that way, right? And it's like, gosh, if we did, can you imagine how we would be a force if we
That's right.
believed in what we were capable of and
That's right.
carrying out, our mission and our purpose in that way. If I wouldn't have been taking this risk and these leaps and really believing and having confidence, I wouldn't be able to put a face. I see young Black girls in the community who are legit like, oh, there you are. You're doing this, right? I've heard of you. And grandmas come to me like, oh my gosh, I read with
That's
my
right.
daughter and my granddaughter your article, right?
That's
So
right.
I wouldn't be being an example for young Black girls coming behind me to show them what is possible if I continue to play it safe. And I
That's
cannot
right.
afford to do that for the next generations, right? I've got to make this better, do my small little part to make our community stronger and show people what is possible.
Man, that's beautiful. Umbrea, do you have a couple of minutes? We're going to play a short commercial. And when I come back, I want to ask you about family. How do you juggle though that hatchet, that chainsaw, and that flaming whatever that other thing is, and doing all that you do? So can you hold tight?
Absolutely.
All right. Hey family, this is the CSRN Video Minutes, our weekly podcast. We'll be right back.
Did you know addiction is a disease, not a moral dilemma? The opioid epidemic and substance use have a major impact on communities of color and many people's lives. Wasion Wellness Recovery Support Center offers culturally relevant inpatient and outpatient behavioral health treatment and recovery support services to any Ohioan struggling with addiction, mental health, or finding sober safe housing. We must recognize that treatment is available and accessible to all. If you are in need of treatment or want to find out more information, you can call 1-888-728-2713 to talk to someone or schedule an appointment.
All right, we are back. This is the Community Solidarity Response Network's podcast. We are here every Tuesday, if it's the will of the universe, 6 p.m. At one point, we would meet in person, but when the pandemic happened, things changed. And I want to thank Julian Mack, Jody Summers, and Ruth Leonard. That Umbrea, when COVID happened, I'm from the old guard, but I realized that something new was coming. When you talked about this risk taking, this following faith, this is the space that we're living in now. I come from the generation that will tell you, well, it's not your time, Umbrea. I think you need to wait on God. I really think that it's not your turn. You should let the guys figure that out. All right. See, but and I'm honest because some of us that are in our late 50s and mid 60s, some of us are part of the problem that we continue to teach this weight game. And I believe, Umbrea, that a lot of our beautiful young girls and young men have been given that weight game, so they let their dreams die. But we're living in a different time now, whereas young people don't subscribe to that teaching as we used to. At least when I grew up, I grew up to go to school, get a good job, work 2 years, 65, but we're dying at 63, and
Right.
everything will be okay. And I lost faith in the institution of the patriarchy and what we tell ourselves. And a lot of our young people are losing faith in that. And I'm saying that because when COVID happened and we were meeting indoors, most people would think, well, we're going to just stop meeting. Well, Julian and Ruth had another idea because they had already had somewhat like a Facebook podcast. And they said, hey, look, since we're not meeting in person, let's just do it on Facebook. And I'm like, Facebook? Well, we don't do stuff. Get off my, I felt like saying, get off my grass. All right. Man, that's why I love them. And the Facebook, our meetings on Facebook transitioned to our meetings on Zoom, which transitioned to using this software that we use now. If it was left up to me, I don't know, because a lot of our elders, if we're not able to adapt and transition, then a lot of our thinking is antiquated. And that's why a lot of young people are not following that old leadership model that we pray and we just wait, but we don't act. Be patient. It's not now. Umbrea, wait 5 years. All right. So big thanks to Ruth, Julian, and Jody that brought my old self on. All right. And I
You
thank them.
just gave an example of why it's important to have diverse teams,
Yeah.
right? Because if you look around the room and everybody is the same color and everybody is around the same age, then where will the diverse in thought and the evolution take place? It won't. Everyone would just,
Oh,
it'll perish, right?
right.
So that's why you need young, old, white, black,
Yeah.
brown, everyone in the room to get those different perspectives. So,
And that's why I love the new approach to social justice now isn't bent on one religious guy that
yeah,
everybody has to believe what he believes. So whatever axes he got to grind, it becomes my axe. Whoever he doesn't like, and we don't get anywhere, nor do we subscribe to that political thing that in order for us to move forward, everybody has to be a Democrat.
right,
And if you're black, you're Democrat by default. And whatever the Democratic Party says, you do, regardless if it's going to benefit you or not. So I'm really glad that, and I hope to have Mike Leonardi and Drabil Bay on. Both of these are some characters. All right, they are some characters, and they decided that no, we're not going to do it like that. We're going to do something different. That everyone is welcome under here to help this thing
right.
move forward. All right. I wanted to ask a couple of more questions. Then we're going to bring on Julian because we're going to talk about what's on the political landscape, what's on the social justice landscape. I wanted to talk about family. And within the social justice community or the protest culture, family sometimes gets left behind. I think family spirituality and faith. All right. We throw that to the side. I don't, but I realize that thing exists. That's why whenever we have someone, I'll ask these questions because that's an important component for you to be sustainable.
Right.
Okay, so I think on the clip that I watched, that you show your children. I think you have 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that we show your son in his fabulous room. I'm like, I don't even have a room like that, son.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have okay. So how
And
do
they
you
complain. They complain about sharing. Cracks me up.
all right. Hey, it is what it is. All right. Bless bless their heart. All
That's their
right.
hearts. They don't know any better. Poor kids.
No. Okay. How do you balance
Mhm,
family,
mhm.
construction, um, all of these things and still show up for the podcast? All right.
So, gosh, I think two things. First off, I believe as a society, a lot of us has subscribed to we do it all, right? I got this. I'm gonna juggle all these balls. I've got all this. I don't need anybody's help, right?
Wow.
But I've got help. And I don't want to sugarcoat that. I was going to make a post about how much help I have. There is no way that I can do this work and be needed as much as I am and then still be a good mom or then still be a good wife or still be a good sister or aunt without help. And those are all roles that are very important to me. And so just last year, I hired a sitter, and my sitter will legit, my kids are active. I mean, 2 of them travel basketball, 2 of them travel soccer. They're also involved with activities at school. So it gets pretty complex carting around 4 kids. And so my sitter slash nanny, legit, her job is to pick my kids up from school, get them some food, help with homework, and then cart them off to their practices. And so it's been a huge blessing. I also have someone come and help me clean my house 2 times a month. And then my friend, who is amazing at organizing and laundry, she offered up a long time ago to help me. There's 6 people in my home to help do laundry and then organize junk drawers. And she's fantastic. And you will be surprised that it doesn't cost me very much to get help. I also have my parents live like 3 minutes away. And
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
they help out. And then Kevin's parents help out significantly as well. And so I get a lot of help. And I just want to be very clear about that. Get the help you need, research, even if it's just a couple hours out of the day. That's a couple hours that you can use to do something else, to reach your goals, to check some boxes off a list. And so get help, and it can look any kind of way. It doesn't have to just be, oh, okay, I've got to have nanny money, or, oh, okay, I've got to have somebody to do my laundry. No, if somebody can just take your responsibilities for a couple hours or just take one thing off your plate, you will be surprised at how much more productive you can be by just having a small help. And so it takes a village. I always say this, it takes a village to raise an entrepreneur, just like it does with children. I have not done none of this by myself. I've got a great team of people who make me look amazing because they show up every day and do their job to perfection and allow me to be successful in that right. And then, your question about balance, I think balance is a tricky word because we can put so much emphasis on, okay, gosh, I didn't spend as much time as I wanted to with my kids today, right? Because I had to work so much, or vice versa. Dang it, I
Right.
didn't get work done because I was spending so much time with my kids. I think at any given time, one thing might need more of you than others,
Yeah,
right? And
teach.
so it's about what you have on that plate. Maybe you've got a
Right.
whole lot of kids because they need you in that particular time. Sometimes, when we were finishing Wonder Bread, I couldn't do anything else. I was just surviving, trying to get that building done. We had time limits and responsibility to our tax creditor. We had to get it done within a certain amount of time, and so that required all of my energy. And so, yes, I was calling in a lot of people to then help with the kids. Well, now, since I'm transitioning into my next project, I'm not as crazy. And so now I'm spending a lot of time with my kids. And so on Fridays, I'm taking the day off. I'll be able to do something fun with them. So it just depends on how your life is going at that particular moment. Allow yourself some grace. Something might need you more over here during this time. This might need you more during this season over this. And so it's just really about
That's awesome.
focusing on what needs you the most at that particular time.
Okay. Man, I know I'm watching Julian and I think that he's thinking, come on, Washington, wrap it up. Hey, you're not the boss of me, Julian. All right.
Hi, Julian.
Hey, I wanted to say, hey, I'm gonna bring him on so that he can. Hey, what's up, Julian?
Hey, there we go. You're just gonna surprise me like that.
I
Hey,
know I
How
did that
are
on.
you?
good, good, good. How about you?
Great. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you as well.
Thank you.
And as I was saying earlier, Julian, we were just talking about when COVID hit and how do we transition from meeting in person, which that's the world that I'm from. All right, the world that I'm from, we don't do anything online because online anything can happen. All right, I don't know how we come up with that type of stuff. And you and Ruth had already were doing something, so it was just a natural fit. And I kind of was brought on kicking and screaming, no, we can't do it online. You know, something's going to happen. So big ups to you, Julian. I think the last question that I want to ask.
Remember, we used to just be like, come over and just sit here, and we're just gonna talk and work it out.
Yeah,
Not
and
anymore. It's all changed.
and I'm just glad that I didn't get so old that I would say no, that'll never work, because here we are, we're meeting some awesome people, and man, so
I got
I'm
a question, if I
but
can.
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So, geez, one of the things one of the questions people keep asking me, and I'll be honest, there's an individual out there that keeps posting this particular question, like to on a lot of different CSRN posts, on a lot of my posts, and a lot of people who occupy, I guess what I'll call a local progressive sphere, right? About gentrification, right? In the modern sense, and just concerns about you know concerns about where many Black people have lived for the majority of this city's history, being relocated and pushed out as land that was once thought to be no good, is now rising in value. Um, what I would just love to hear, like, your perspective on that and how we can effectively address these concerns, right, that naturally develop out of the out of kind of the capitalistic aspect of our society, but raise each other up, and not exploit, right, those that need the most help in our community.
No, that's a really good question. Thank you. So I'm doing some Trek work. You guys probably heard of it, Toledo Racial Equity Inclusion Council. And I am on the housing pillar. And I don't need to tell you guys, this is preaching to the choir, but gosh, the wealth gap just continues to expand and expand. And when you talk about home ownership, it's the largest it's been, the gap, in 100 years when you compare Black families to white families. And so gentrification is a huge part of that, right? And so we've been talking about ways in which we can change that here in our community. And I think home ownership is the number one way that anyone can build wealth. And if you don't have home ownership, and then you really are missing out on an opportunity to leave a legacy and pass, money down and investments down from generations to come. So I am a huge component of leaving what is there and making it better, right? And so for the instance of the Wonder Bread factory, that's in historic Vistula. That area has been long forgotten about for a very long time. I came in, renovated that Wonder Bread factory that had been an eyesore in that community for almost 30 years. And so if I'm taking the biggest structure, and I do have an affordability component, I actually have 8 apartments that are affordable. And so I can't go over a certain amount that I'm charging. If I can take the largest building on the block and make it better and improve the community, then I'm then increasing property values of the people that are already there. right? And in turn, that's better for that entire community. Also, we've got something happening in our community where, it costs a lot of money to renovate some of the homes, and the value just simply isn't there. And so the land bank has been demolishing a lot of homes. So now we need to talk about infill opportunities, right, in communities of color. And what does that look like? And putting those same people who are originally from the neighborhood back in that neighborhood. But now it's better, it's improved. And so I'm just a big component in investing in it and not driving anyone out, but actually enhancing the quality of the homes and the offerings. We need to be diverse in our offerings too. Right now, I just closed about 2 weeks ago on a former Masonic temple in East Toledo, right over the Martin Luther King Jr. Bridge. So it's 60,000 square feet. I'm going to make it 42 senior affordables.
Wow.
Right down the street from a brand new complex that was on market rate where the old sports arena used to be. But now I'm going to come in and put, senior affordables. Why? Because there's a pharmacy there, there's a grocery store there, there's walkability, right? And so I just want to make neighborhoods better, and not try out people who are currently there, but just improve quality. Housing is related to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare, transportation, education, it all kind of stems from housing. And so if you've got great housing, you're improving the longevity of life of Black and brown people, right? Zip code is a huge thing. I can go on and on about this, but I won't. But
I love it.
my thing is just to enhance and not drive anybody out ever. I'm from those same neighborhoods. I just told Brother Washington I grew up on, Macomber and Auburn.
Yeah.
Right? Like my grandparents still live over there. I still do life over there. You'll find me at Seaway grocery shopping. Right? Like that's my neighborhood. And so I couldn't even fathom driving people out.
Yeah. I think that again, like the diverse teams, is just, I love that you highlighted that because that's such an important part of and it's such a major part of the process. I think that's been missing. Been missing, for so long. So thank you.
I get called by a lot of boards post George Floyd, and it's like we looked around our boardroom and everyone's white and we have a problem. Right? Like all of a sudden, right? Diverse teams is very, very important to everyone. And so now they're reaching out to get diverse voices on the boards, which, is not a bad thing, but it's just interesting that, everyone has had an awakening in this way, which is, a good thing.
Let me ask you. See, Brother Washington, you should have just you should have just waited because now I want to interview too.
All right. Well, how about this? Let me
you mentioned that, like, and I agree that happens a lot. Where sometimes we get one of the things I went back and listened to my speech from 2 years ago, and I was I kind of blacked out and just said what was let the heart speak, let the soul speak. But one of the things that I was critical of is you get these Black faces in high places and how it gives the veneer of equity and equality, but it doesn't hit the people it's supposed to, right? Like we don't feel it in our communities, right? Like we've had what 4 out of the past 6 mayors have been Black, but have we felt that shift in our community over the past 20 years, and just necessarily being in the room doesn't necessarily make that happen, but keeping the perspective of where you're from does. So I guess my second question would just be like, let me just first say how grateful I am that you are in the room, right? But for us, that may be new to those spaces, that may feel that imposter syndrome, that may feel that uncomfortability, right? They want you there, but they don't want you to show up as your full self, right? What would you suggest? Like, how do we show up in those rooms and not shrink and not capitulate when we feel those microaggressions manifesting? How do we? Because we know, like, in our soul, it's not just us in the room. We're taking our community with us, you know. But again, like, far too often, many of our predecessors have shrunk at those moments, right? How do we show up as our full selves?
Let me just tell you, I love this question so much, because when I've been asked to be on these boards and I'm looking around, and typically on some boards they have Black people represented, and they are freaking mute. And I am pissed, because what are you doing? You are just taking up air, and it stresses me completely out, because now you're doing us a disservice. You're here for your voice, and yet you won't use it. And so, but then when I think about them, and maybe why they don't say anything, they're there because their employer has allowed them to be there. So they're on their company time and they're playing nice in the sandbox. Why? Because it's going to impact them financially, they believe, if they speak out. And so that's why entrepreneurship and ownership is so dang on important, because at the end of the day, I can say whatever I want to. That's why, because nobody in this room is signing my check. And so I'm not afraid to tell you exactly how I feel. I'm here for a reason, and it's to progress the decisions that are being made in this room on behalf of brown and Black people. And so I take that very seriously. But at the same time, my pockets are not affected by what I say. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, I'm banging on the table. Like, why are you guys saying this? Like, sometimes I lose it and I look around like, okay, it is just me, right? But they legit are mute. But then when I think about their situation, it's because somebody's signing their check. So ownership, entrepreneurship, that legacy, generational wealth, own your home, that all matters. And then that gives you an opportunity to voice and be yourself and not shrink.
All right. Hey, Julian.
That's good. Thank you.
Sister Ambrea, we have different segments in one of the things that we do, we address the prison industrial complex. We have our brother Omar Gent on. Brother Omar, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's kind of low, but I can hear you.
All right. Let me bring up the volume just a bit. All right. Hey, listen, we're going to go ahead and transition. We're going to be asking Brother Omar some questions. And Sister Ambrea, it was, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this so much. You have no idea. So thank you.
And would you be willing? We're going to get back with Ruth, and we're going to tell her that we didn't mess up today. All right, Julia, we did good. We did good.
You got to come back.
Yes, you got to.
I'd like that.
All right, sure. Thank you so much. And everybody, listen, that's our sister Ambrea. Pronounce your name again.
Ambrea Mikolajczyk.
Mikolajczyk. And our sister, yes, ma'am. Art Construction. Check her out on YouTube. Check out her place. Check out that meeting table where they say they just gather at a 18-foot table. They just gather. Okay, yeah. Let me just gather at a beautiful sister. You have a beautiful family. All right, that's what's up. Thank you, sister. And we
Thank you guys so much again for having me. Look forward to the next time. Have a great evening.
You too.
Peace.
All right. Thank you. That is our sister Ambrea from Art Construction. She just put on an entrepreneur clinic. And right now we have our brother Omar Gent from freeourbrothers.com. Brother Omar, how you feeling today, brother?
Real good, brother. Real good.
All right.
How you doing?
All right. Hey, listen, did the sound pick up a bit better?
I don't know if you got me on that Bluetooth thing, but I can make you out, but it's still kind of low.
Okay.
I'll work with it.
All right. We have you loud and clear, but you are on Bluetooth.
That's good.
You are on Bluetooth, so they hear you loud and clear. We've got a few different people that are watching for the first time. I want to just acknowledge some of the people that's in the chat. Let me see if I can find them. That's in our brother Nick Lewis Faulkner. Brother just said, nice show. Sister Yvette Muhammad is watching. Of course, we've got Julian Mack. Also, our brother Jury Talibdeen and brother Jury. We're going to need something in the journal regarding Juneteenth. And also, we have our brother Omar Gent calling all the way from Colorado to address the prison and industrial complex. We would love to have a story from our brother inside the Toledo Journal, which Brother Omar is one of our great Black newspapers here in Toledo, and our brother Wayman Farmer, who's helped us start the self-improvement workshop series. All right, that was kind of a CSRN before CSRN. That's what's up. Brother Omar, for the people that are new to you, who are you, and why do you, what makes you so consistent in the movement?
All right, thank you for inviting me on to this wonderful platform. My name is Omar Jeremy Chin, my oldest of three siblings. Originally I'm from Delray Beach, Florida. I was born May 6, 1984. As explained by my website, freeourbrothers.com. I'm fighting against Colorado's illicit mass incarceration, no indictment machine that railroads not just black males to prison, but all people of all, races and creeds. And what keeps me going is that I know that injustice itself is basically it's unnatural to think that justice was to be set up instantly. It's unnatural in this world based on injustice. So you have to be consistent, and keep going, because you can't just think that, you're going to pop up on the scene and fight structural racism and institutions that have been around way long before you've been born. And you're going to put in a few months or a few years work and just change things overnight. So you have to be consistent, because the enemy often waits for the people to come up, raise steam and go away. But I can't go away, my brother. I have to fight as long as I have breath in my body.
That's beautiful. And right now we do have the on the screen, we've got Julian, we have myself, and also we've got Jody on the screen. And also we have your website, freeourbrothers.com, that we want everyone that views this website, views this podcast, to go to the website, freeourbrothers.com, find out how you could get involved, find out how you can help him build the campaign. You can make a difference now. If you want to know more, there's a video on his on our brother's website that talks about mass incarceration in the U.S. to find out what the issue is, what you can do to help, and why this is happening, so that we can stop illegal imprisonment, not only in Colorado, but everywhere, everywhere. So we thank you, Brother Omar, for being here. I know that Jody has just a few minutes, but I wanted to ask you.
Off.
All right, great. I wanted to ask you our process question. I was talking to a couple of the brothers recently. The weather's breaking, and we're back out with the Final Call newspaper again. And oftentimes, you have to get through 10 no's, selling the Final Call newspaper to get to a yes. I wanted to ask you this, Brother Omar. How do you deal with opposition and disappointment? What's your process of doing that, especially in the work that you do? How would you answer that question?
Well, that's a powerful question, my brother. I deal with the opposition and disappointment, and knowing, like I started off saying, it's unnatural to think that justice was to be set up instantly, in this unjust world, and especially, for, my people. history is best qualified to reward our research. If you go back to, the history of this nation and, the other European powers, when they were set up to bring injustice to, Black people, the original people of the earth. So, when you have these institutions like the prison systems and, the various injustice, police brutality, and our offshoots of, the original injustice, original sin, and you can expect to be pushed back against. To think that you're not going to be pushed back against is really asinine. It's not realistic. It's naive. So, I understand that human beings we get frustrated, but at the same time, we have to have the proper attitude towards the Creator. Knowing that God is true to Himself. He's true to His word. He will never leave us. And sometimes the opposition may be appointed because it says that it's ordained. Opposition is ordained. So as you step out for truth, justice, and equality, the opposition is ordained. It may be ordained to humble you or to teach you something about yourself or others. You never know, but it is ordained and it builds you up, and it shouldn't tear you down to the point where you stop moving forward. So I have to step back and think about the disappointment that's coming at me,
Right.
and get my attitude right toward the Creator, and I can move on.
Right. Brother Omar, we recently celebrated or acknowledged the 2-year anniversary since our police accountability rally here in Toledo that really set the stage for social activism and protest culture. And definitely we had a lot of pushback from that. I wanted to ask this question, and once again, thank you so much for being here. When did you start thinking that way? Because most times, I know that in my younger days, once I had some opposition, I would automatically think that, well, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, and I would quit. All right. When did your thinking transition, or if it ever did, when did you start seeing things the way that you do now? How did that happen?
Well, this reading, man, picking up a lot of books, that's based on the history of this country, reading the Final Call newspaper, things that are positive, bringing up the accounts of what was happening, what has happened to our people in the past and where we need to go. And you start looking at the injustice, how, I was watching a documentary this morning. They were talking about Greenwood, Oklahoma, how, our people came together and had basically a beautiful Black economic system and wealth. And you look at how, the forces of white supremacy came in and tore it down and took it apart. But if people stop, if I was to stop, if the ancestors were to stop, where would we be? So I'll constantly think of that, because so often, you see it in the prison environment, when there's an injustice, you have to go through the grievance process and bring things towards the people, the high-ranking people and stuff. And you notice one thing, a lot of them like to run. They like to run away from you, and they play this way out game because they figure that most people won't have the wherewithal to keep going and bring the issue. So I noticed that they want to try to wait us out, wear us down, and I have to be aware of that with the historical legacy that's often involved in that realization as well.
Now, I think my last question for you, and then
listen to the mic.
What did you say, Jody?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, you got to speak closer into the mic, Brother Washington.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that. Is that a little bit better?
That's better.
Oh, it's way better.
All right, great. Sorry about that, man. I'm thinking I'm doing one thing, but obviously
I need to be in the studio.
Yeah, that's true too. It's all good. I wanted to ask you this. Within our guiding principles, we talk about self-care. You're in a hostile environment. All right. Me as a former confined citizen, I know that that's a hostile environment to be imprisoned. What do you do for self-care? How do you rebalance? What do you do to reset? And thank you for letting me know about that sound. And that's how we get down. All right.
First and foremost, I have to realize that God's hands are over all events. So I have to be spiritually in tune with Him, each and every day. Meditation, just being in tune spiritually and making sure that I watch my diet. What I take into my body, what I take into my mind. Watch the people that I'm around, even though I can, you can mentally distance yourself, even if you can't physically distance yourself. Not to say that you think you're better than anybody, but sometimes you just got to tune out the negative voices and people, give yourself a little distance, and then come back and try to help people, because it would take a lot of power away from you if you allow certain people who may be too blind or too bitter or broken to take what you're trying to give them as far as in a positive direction. And also, I make sure that I work out. That boosts my mood. I keep moving. Run. I work out, do calisthenics. That is very important. So with all those things mixed together, and just realizing that sometimes you just gotta take rest. Like this morning, I didn't do nothing, and it felt good. I just sat back and watched a documentary. And I was just like, I should be doing something. My mind was like, no, do nothing. And sometimes that's okay. And you feel all those pressures and stresses, and you don't have to keep pushing yourself till you burn yourself out. I just like, you know what? Me taking care of me this morning is just not feeling guilty about laying in the bed and watching a documentary about, my people, our people. So that's what I did. And it also just made me feel more inspired to see that, at the end of the day, they took care of themselves, so I got to take care, meeting my people, our people, by building and coming together. And that's what I got to do, even if it means just slowing down sometimes,
All right. Now, my last question, or one of my next to last question, because that's after I ask this, I need you to let everyone know how you could be reached. How would you like them to contact you? But I need to talk about your dad. A couple of weeks ago, we had your dad on, and your dad is the real deal. All right. The real deal. He was the real deal before they even came up with that word, the real deal. I wanted to ask him how he's doing, because I know that the Heat didn't make it to the finals. So I wanted to let him know I'm checking in on him, that I could do some. Since I'm a mental health professional, I could do a wellness call to see how my man.
Yeah, you might have to, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah. But since he's former law enforcement, I think he probably CCW. So I want to be careful, how I come at him too. But just wanted to check on my brother, see how he's doing. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And my last question is, for the people that are watching and may stream this later, how would you like people to contact you?
I got Instagram at Free Our Brothers, and it's my email is freourbrothers1@gmail.com, freourbrothers1@gmail.com. I wouldn't tell anybody to write me, because I do not trust this mail room. They don't want me communicating with nobody. So Instagram at Free Our Brothers, and freourbrothers1@gmail.com. Anybody has any questions or concerns, I'll most definitely get back to you. And please go to Instagram at Free Our Brothers, the same website, and see that video, RV Citizens, and please participate with that video drive.
All right. Hey, listen, brother. One of the things that we didn't do today, we didn't do our Nguzu Saba word of the day, which is Nia, purpose. And that is to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. So being great is nothing new to us. We've been on that. And now we're going back to that, brother. So I want to thank you. Thank you once again for being here. And if it's the will of God that we get back here next week, brother, we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, thank you all. Actually, last question. My dad's doing okay. He's pushing. He really appreciates people like you, and he's staying strong, helping me to stay strong. And inshallah, we will reunite real soon, and we'll be able to push the program even harder. So thank you all. Shields up, revolutionary greetings, and salute.
Salute. Thank you, my brother. That is our brother Omar Gent from freeourbrothers.com, confined citizen in the state of Colorado, fighting for all of us, not only for those who are presently incarcerated, but some of us that were formerly incarcerated and given a real voice to what's happening inside the belly of the beast. I have with me the pleasure of having with me, I've had Julian earlier. And once again, thank you, brother Julian. Thank you, Jody, for helping CSRN transition post-pandemic. All right. Because trust me, if it was left up to old people, we would have quit a long time ago, because I wasn't thinking of Facebook Live. I wasn't thinking of Zoom. And I know I wasn't thinking of this platform that we use now. I would say it, but I don't think Jody didn't say they cut the check. But anyway, I want to thank all of you for really bringing us forward into the 22nd, 21st, and 23rd century with what we're doing. However, yesterday we were processing May 30th, 2020. And I wanted to get, Jody's comments on what we did yesterday and Julian's comments. And if there's some loose ends that we missed, what do you think?
Yep. Okay. I don't know. My video keeps moving. So can y'all see me clearly, or is it jumping?
You're good, Jody. Go ahead.
We see
Okay.
you. It is kind of jumpy. So I want you to make sure that whenever you're with you, make sure you bring your free hotspot that's provided for us from the Toledo Public Library.
After this, I got to go return mine and pick up another one. I've had mine for 42 days now.
Okay, so make sure you do that. We invest in it. This is our library, and man, we stream a whole podcast on this bad boy right here. So shout out to Sierra, shout out to Celeste, shout out to Kent Branch Library for man really pushing this, and shout out to us.
And Maine.
And Maine, like we say Maine. Okay, all right. But we've really been pushing this. I've been pushing it to everybody that I know. So we've got Jody off camera, but I wanted to really process this with you, Jody. May 30th. We were downtown yesterday. What were your thoughts?
My thoughts were good. Like it's what we do in essence. Going places where we're kind of not invited to make sure that awareness is brought up. Even just because of the podcast and stuff, we brought some of the protesters down with us. So that was good. The fact that we had a plan A. Plan A didn't work. We went to plan B. Plan B was kind of okay, but then Julian and Ruth came. Plan C worked beautiful. So it's about organizing on the spot and not and being patient enough. Like you said, I am not a patient person, but as we got Brother Washington for with the years of experience as our elder.
That's right. And anytime we need to go ahead and kick the door in, we've got Jody. All right.
Yep.
That's right. That's what's up. All right. What do you think about what we did yesterday, Julian? And I think we're coming up on 7:25. That's kind of my Julian hint. All right. Even if it was 5:40, I said, hey, we're coming up on 7:25. What were your thoughts of us being in that space and the protesters showing up?
Yeah, it's not lost upon me. Right here, I have a book that I highly recommend all of you read and pick up called Black Toledo, right? A documentary history of the African-American experience in Toledo, Ohio. And when you pick that up, you'll read, about some race riots that happened in the 1860s and 70s. You'll read about what happened in the 1960s, right? And one day, right, when they have an updated version of the book, you'll read about what happened on May 30th, 2020. It's very important that tell our stories, that we document our experience, and we commemorate the sacrifice of freedom fighters that fought alongside each other that day, that fought on the people's side that day. And so, it was just, as far as long as I'm alive, I'll remember May 30th. It's the day that, my tax dollars were used to hurt me and my friend, and, the argument or case can never be made, right, that this is a Florida problem, that this is a Minneapolis problem, that this is a over there problem. This is a problem right here in our backyard. And the behavior of our police department made that painfully obvious that day. They demonstrated the behavior that we were protesting, and the sickest ironic twist of it all, right? They demonstrated a lack of accountability. They demonstrated a lack of restraint. They demonstrated a lack of, really, frankly, common sense, when it came to breaking folks' legs, breaking bones, for an attempted, spray painting of a police window. That's what happened, right? There was an attempt by someone none of us know, to spray paint a window. And as we underlined yesterday, a situation that we policed ourselves amongst us.
That's
right, and stopped from escalating any further. Had we, very easily, you know what I mean? When I reflect back on that day, I'll never forget the feeling of the crowd. Like, I'm very much an empathetic person, right? When I talk to you, I may forget your name, you know what I mean? But I'll never forget the energy, right, that I get from a person, right? And I'll never forget. Shout out to Brother Mac McCluster, who showed up that day and was present, and added a piece of the wonderful quilt of speeches that were put together. But I'll never forget him reading the law enforcement like code of conduct or oath prior to the mic being given to me, and how frustrated that made many in the crowd, right? And how I don't think I don't use this word lightly, but there was a fever pitch, right, when I had the microphone, and in a very real way, right? Like, if the goal of the demonstration was for us to cause damage, right, it wasn't nothing but a word to be said from my mouth at that point in time. You know what I mean? And I think back to, as I watched it, I was speaking from the heart and my soul, but I chose my words very, very, very carefully, right? Because I knew the gravity of that moment and how it could be interpreted, right? And I specifically said, that the fire that needed to catch, right, was the fire of unity, right, was the fire of using our skills and our talents, the fire of self-determination, of building our own institutions, right? That was the fire that needed to catch in order to metaphorically and realistically burn these systems to the ground. Right?
Let me let Jody know something.
Yeah.
Hey, Jody, we have muted you.
I know. I can see it.
We got the
I'm outside.
All right. So sorry about that, but I just wanted him to know, because he had left the podcast and he came back, and he may have thought that something was going on, but he's taking care of himself. So yeah, you were saying that, yeah, there was a point, and I'm right next to you, and we did everything. We did everything. We left everything on the table, on the floor that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Everything that needed to be said and everything that was supposed to happen afterward did. All right. Everything. And I want to thank everyone, those that stayed, those that continued to march throughout the night. And I also wanted to say that everyone's safety was a big part of how I felt. And that was a rough night for me, even though we were a part of organizing it. But there was also a part that I didn't want anyone to get hurt. And just getting through that first 24 hours with all of us marching everywhere, marching on Talmadge, marching on Monroe, marching on the South Side, everyone that decided to pick up their cross or pick up their Black Lives Matter sign, we went for ours tonight. And I want to thank everyone for doing whatever you had to do to release that stress, release that anxiety, and let your voice be heard. And I want to thank you, Julian, that when you were speaking, that was straight from the heart. And I was right next to you. I felt like Puffy telling you, take that. You know, it was so inspiring to see and hear you speak to that crowd. And we didn't let up. We didn't let up.
Let me, you know, I've reflected a lot upon this moment, and you know, really over the past year and beyond. You know, when we talk about, because all of it rolls together, man. When we talk about self-care, when we talk about our guiding principles,
Right.
when we talk about all of this stuff, it all rolls together. And sometimes you get a moment where all of those things align in one, right? And it was a situation where, you know, I was speaking from the heart, but my heart had to be in the right place. You know what I mean? In order for that to happen, right? Like I have to, you know, when I think about sometimes going to therapy and the healing work and all of that, right? Like it's making sure that I take care of what's right inside me, knowing that if I take care of what's right inside here, what comes out is what should come out. You know what I mean? And so, you know, but part of that is also every leader, right, like needs some sort of checks and balances and mentorship and guidance. You know what I mean? I think sometimes I know when I'm looking at the plight of so many leaders in our community and our nation's history, right? That when we don't have that guidance, when we don't have, you know, you playing Puffy in my ear, turn it up a notch, go ahead, let them have it, or dial it back, right? The harm that can be caused.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It may have seemed like I was out of control, or maybe, you know, but there was a very real, there was mentorship in real time happening there.
Right there. Yes, sir.
People, right?
Yes, sir.
People that I don't think, you know, you could watch that 1,000 times and not know, right? Where you know, having a mic in front of a crowd that full of energy can, oddly enough, can feel very embracing or also feel very lonely, right? But I never felt by myself, right? Because, you know, I knew I felt connected to you, right? I felt connected I felt connected to Ruth's passion, and I felt connected to Jody's pure, unadulterated security. You know what I mean? And so it's only because of all those other pieces in place, though, right? That true leadership happens, right? Somebody may look at that and say, "Oh, this is you know, look at Julian doing. Nah, man, that's me playing my part, but it's a part of many of a greater whole. You know what I mean? And so I just think that's important to highlight that, right? And you know, the work that goes into that for me was an inside out job, you know what I mean? But also putting myself in and being a leader, knowing when to follow. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just stand here, then I stand there. You say turn it up a notch, go ahead and turn up a notch. Ruth says, let them know what you're talking about. Then that means, you know what I mean? Like all of those things, and it was the manifestation of, I think, so much of other work that had been put in coming out at one time. So
all right. Hey, let me bring Jody. Let me bring Jody back in. And don't forget when Julian had talked about the Black Toledo, that could be a part of our Black Lives Matter book club. Go ahead and get that book. If you want to support us, you can support us via Cash App, hashtag CSRN 419, paypal.me CSRN. That's a / get it right, CSRN 419. And please do not forget Juneteenth is coming up Saturday, June 18th, 2022, noon to 4. Mott Branch, Smith Park, it's on. And you're going to hear more about that in the near future, all right?
Let me plug the shirt real quick, though. You only got 4 hours left, right, where you can get one of these exclusive shirts, right, and $5 goes to contribute towards the good work that Brothers United does, right? So put your order in at Jute Mode, right? Get your father's shirts. If you can't see, it's this supporter, protector, comforter, provider, teacher, father. You know, I think this is, and they're really comfortable. But it's a chance to be fly and support some of the good work, great work being done in our community by Brothers United.
Hey, I wanted to ask, do they come in medium? All right. You got
to pick one. You got to pick a small or medium. All
right. Damn it. I guess I got to get an extra large then. Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, Jody. Hey, look, thanks for hanging in. Just getting off. Look like you're out and about. Hey, listen, loose ends in 5 minutes of heat. What do you have for us?
For 5 minutes of heat. Well, loose ends. Again, I hope the audio is good. I know it seems like I got too many paid programs running on my phone and I can't click out of them without doing stuff. So I'll have to make sure to be aware to turn those mods off later.
Great. We can hear you fine.
You're good.
Okay. It's just the visuals, but that's cool. You know, you see the hat. So closing thoughts. Well, we have the Old West End Festival this weekend here in Toledo, Ohio. I believe it's Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday. I know I'll be there Saturday. There's also at the Ziegler Center at 504 Independence. There is a Holistic Hands Art Gallery Showcase, which I'll be a part of. And that's going to have some other vendors. Actually, the artwork that I created for 2020, the pandemical revolution through the eyes of the woke, is going to be judged along with some other great artists and entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And let me see, anything else going on in the community? I'm not sure, but I do know, check out the Hoodstock page, check out the Arts Commission, check out, of course, our page. If you want to know what's going on in Toledo that may be on the side of town you're at, my best advice is do your research. A lot of things are going on. The world is open again. It's warm outside. Everybody is trying to capitalize on the 2 years plus possibly that they missed as life. So
that's right.
Stop saying things are boring because nothing's really boring. You just don't want to be at those places.
Hey, they say boredom comes from within. All right. So if you're bored, you might be boring. All right. Hey, I'm just saying.
It's true too. I can't say too much about that because I've met some interesting people that are very recluse otherwise, but you see them on stage like myself, and you would never know I'm an introvert.
Yes, sir.
For 5 minutes of heat, which special announcement, I guess the book that I did a commission work for just
Yes,
got
sir.
a donation. Shout out to 128 Lit in New York. They're doing their first magazine, and we got an email today, all of the contributors. Now we're not just getting a book, but we're also getting paid for our contribution.
Oh, great.
And shout out to another magazine. I'll be doing it on my page. It just dropped today. I'm also one of the contributors of that. So that makes book number 9 and anthology number 4 this year. What I'm going to be doing is one of those pieces because on We Act Radio, I will have another show coming because I initially, when they started in 2020, I did their first show. So they're bringing me back again as a special guest. And this time I'll be doing a few excerpts from the childhood trauma series. And we're going to do the piece today that started the childhood trauma series of Toxic. And I guess that is my closing thoughts,
All
real
right.
quick before 5 minutes of heat.
Just my closing thoughts have two really, I think, important things. So there's been an ongoing fight on the state level over the districts that will exist for the next 10 years for the Ohio State legislature. And the Ohio Supreme Court continues to reject those maps and has continued to reject those maps, right? And in order for that to happen, to be clear, one of those judges, a Republican judge, had to side, had to side with saying that the, biased Republican maps were harmful, right, for all Ohioans, right, and undermine democracy. It did come out earlier this week that I think there was a panel of 5 federal judges, and the federal judges okayed map 3, right, which is still
Thumbs up with your mic, Julian.
They okayed map 3, which is still quite biased. And just to be clear, right, these the judges that tilted the scales were Trump appointed judges, right? Like we think it's important that we connect all these dots and put all these pieces together and realize right, that as we fight for liberation, we also fight against fascism, right, at the same time. And the complexities of those dual fronts and fighting those dual battles at the same time. While we're fighting against the known enemy of neoliberalism and fighting against the old enemy of fascism, right, we do need all of our soldiers, and we do need to be in tip-top shape mentally and physically and spiritually, right? And so that is our fight, and that is what we continue to do. Also, in the midst of 2 gruesome tragedies of gun violence, in the midst of all of the gun violence that's happened over the past couple years here in Toledo with record-breaking numbers, right? In the midst of a racially motivated act of really terrorism in Buffalo, right, where a black supermarket, 10 black folks were gunned down, right? A man deliberately went into a black neighborhood. And as we're looking at, a elementary school shooting, where our children, right, were murdered, and the police response was to wait an hour until they go in. As we've been saying, they don't protect us from harm. They only respond to it. I think look no further than what happened down in Texas. But
that's right.
We have to be clear that we are days away from new gun laws and the deregulation of gun laws here in Ohio to be more like what existed in Texas. And it's
Okay.
It's stunning that we have this type of cognitive dissonance, right, from those in leaderships, and that kind of cognitive dissonance comes from having gerrymandered Ohio legislatures that don't represent the will of the actual people, right? Let's be clear, right? These gun laws are not here to protect Black life. They're here because there is no value on Black life, right? The only time these gun laws are a result of the lobbying power of the NRA. The only time the NRA has ever stood against any type of stood for any type of gun legislation was in California when Ronald Reagan was governor, and the Mulford Act Pact, right?
Okay.
When Black Panthers were arming themselves in the California state legislature, right, to let them know that they would be standing against the tyranny that law enforcement, had been terrorizing our communities with. Right. And so to be clear, right, these laws are not created or upheld to protect Black life, period. Right. Like, I just want to make that unequivocally clear.
Yes, sir.
Passing these laws, you can meet. You deal with it. I won't.
All right. For some reason, it looks like you're kind of going out, Julian.
I think we're getting past that limit. We're already half an hour over.
Let me just finish, man. I tend to find ways to solve my problems without firearms. And that's just what's kept me alive, right? And so I just underline those things that are going on right now in our community. And with that being said, go ahead and take us home with 5 minutes of heat, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Awesome job, Julian. And again, to all the people watching, thank you. I didn't give an introduction to myself, but my name is Jody J. Summers, child of the system, better known as Spoken Truth. I'm the treasurer of this wonderful grassroots organization. And this is how we end our meetings, not Robert's rules with a gavel, but some poetry. Today's poetry is called Toxic. It's a piece on mental health. So before you start calling people names and trying to analyze them without a degree or anything like that, you should probably speak to them and communicate to find out why they act that way. So let's begin. Peace. Toxic. I think I was made backwards. Yes, I think I was made backwards. Or at the very least, just the very least, color opposite. Because your red flags might look like my green flags, and my green flags always tell people to run. There's always someone trying to tell another person to stop playing the victim as they watch them bleeding, yes, bleeding out on the ground, dying from an injury that they did not cause themselves. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. It's okay, you'll be fine. No, stop, toughen up. No one wants to see your tears. I can't visibly see, yes, I can't visibly see what's hurting you, so I don't believe it's real. So you learn to talk less and internalize your fears. You stop telling people, yes, stop telling people the problems that hurt you in hopes that no one, yes, no one will notice you crumbling from inside. You start focusing on the material things that you can't take with you. Because every time, yes, every time you try and take someone on this journey with you, they find out your worst fears. Yes, they find out your worst fears and just as quickly disappear. You become outcast, and circles that you once loved, and spaces, yes, spaces for healing are no longer willing to catch your tears. So you withdraw into an emotionally compacted place in your mind where if you don't talk about it, yeah, if you don't talk about it, it's not real. You get angry quickly and lash out when someone touches you emotionally because all you want, yes, all you want is to be held. But there's always someone punching and pushing past your stop signs and triggers, telling you, yes, you, how you are supposed to heal. You latch on to people who you know, yes, you know you are not supposed to attach to, but their red flags might look like green flags to you when you only want to be healed. And all you see is them vigorously waving messages of lessons you should have learned. Yes, you should have learned the last time you were here. So you isolate yourself and only do, yes, only do the things that bring you to the brink of your emotions. Because now that's the only way, yes, that's the only way you know how to feel, crying in between the moments of desperation. Because it's the only sound silent enough for anyone, yes, anyone to actually know that you care without getting angry at you for being too loud or too aggressive about pieces of you. Yes, pieces of you that are no longer there. You hug too tightly. You talk too long. You're too silent at times, and you remove, yes, you remove yourself from the world because you don't believe anyone cares. You look at all those flags, and whether they be red or green, you inspect, yes, you inspect the unchecked boxes you haven't talked about in years, and you say to yourself, it's far better than gray. Yes, it's far better than gray. Hoping that this time, this person, this situation will just listen, yes, listen and stop playing with your triggers like there's some type of video game trying to reach the high score, leaving their initials on the leaderboard saying, look, I was here. You just want to tell people, my trust, yes, my trust is so up, but I appreciate that you are here. And I am trying, yes, trying for the moment, but this might take some years because I believe I was born backwards, or at the very least, yes, the very least, color opposite, because your red flags might look like green flags to me, and my green flags could cause you to run away. In peace.
I want to thank brother, man, Jody. We had to, okay, no, we don't clap, we snap our, we're supposed to snap our fingers, all right? Oh, wow, we've got the worst tech crew ever, all right?
Hey, I'll be here in clap soon. It's gonna be the first single off the album, so I'm getting used to people coming to me in tears or happy that I was able to coalesce those words into something beautiful.
All right, beautiful. Hey, listen, we're gonna close out with the solidarity pledge.
Yep.
Do you have it, Julian, or you want me to do it? How are we gonna do this?
I don't have it up and ready to go.
All right. So if you could repeat after me, I, your name,
Jody,
pledge to strive
pledge to strive
to love my brothers and my sisters
to love my brothers and my sisters
as I love myself.
as I love myself.
I,
I,
your name,
Jay Summers,
pledge to strive
pledge to strive,
to study,
to study,
to improve myself
to improve myself
spiritually,
spiritually,
mentally,
mentally,
morally,
morally,
and physically
and physically,
for the benefit of myself,
for the benefit of myself,
my family,
my family,
and my people.
and my people.
I,
I,
your name,
child of the system,
pledge to strive
pledge to strive,
to be a part of the solution,
to be a part of the solution,
the process,
the process,
and not the problem.
and not the problem.
I,
I,
your name,
spoken truth,
pledge to strive
pledge to strive,
to give all that I could spare
to give all that I can spare
of my time,
of my time,
my strength,
my strength,
and energy
and energy
to achieve
to achieve
the above said.
the above said.
Man, brothers, thank you. Dynamite podcast. All right. Dynamite podcast. Hey, listen, anybody doesn't have any other loose ends? You know, we all know that all lives can't matter until
Black Lives
Black
Matter.
lives matter.
and black lives can't matter until
All
Black lives matter.
justice or else.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, yeah.